Okay, here's my 1972 Monte Carlo. The car was built, the exterior was built by Jack Ingram. The interior, the roll cage, and all the frame was built by Banjo Matthews. The car was an exceptionally fast car. It was what's called a late model sportsman. It wasn't a cup car, it was the Bush car, the next step down. The drivers of this were, the first one was Jack Ingram, and then Donnie Allison drove it, and David Pierson drove it. All three of them said it was probably one of the best cars they ever drove. The car is original inside. The steering wheel's original wheel. The seat is the original seat. The exterior, everything on the car is original, the body and all that, except the hood. The hood was so rotted out when we got it that we had to get another hood and put on it. We built it just like the original hood was built. The car won at Daytona twice, and Talledega once. It held a speed record at Talledega for 13 years. Then it was on Wide World of Sports, The Thrill of Victory, Agony of Defeat, where the guy flips off of, for the old timers, flips off the ski slope, where they show that. This car was in that promotion before the show, and it was there for 13 years from what I'm told. The car was a wreck when we got it. The roof was rotted almost in two right in here. It had sat outside at Banjo Matthews' shop for years and years. I don't know how long and what happened there, because the car had won so many races and was such a good car. Banjo took it in on a trade-in on a Ventura, and he was going to restore it and give it to Talledega. Well, Banjo died and his sons got it, and they pushed it outside, and it eventually almost rotted away. We managed to save it, put new floors in it, new trunk in it, and straighten up all the rust on the car. This was about a year project from start to finish. The car had only been wrecked one time from the information that I get, and the wreck was minor. It was on the right side. It got a Darlington stripe where they pushed up against the wall at Darlington. Other than that, it raced from 72 through 78, and Jack Ingram won the points championship from 72, 3, and 4 with this car as a super speedway car. Then Donnie Allison started driving it in 75, and Pierson drove it a couple times during that period. So the car is an exceptionally nice car. It was put in the NASCAR Hall of Fame when Jack Ingram was inducted. It was in the Hall of Honor for a year in Charlotte. We originally got the car, it was white with a number 21, so I painted it back white, number 21. Then Jack Ingram called me and asked me if he could put this in the Hall of Fame. And I said, yeah. He said, well, send it to Charlotte and I'll have it repainted. And I told Jack, no, I'll repaint the car, you put the lettering on it. So Jack put some of the lettering on it. We repainted it here in the garage, and turned out very nice. Jack sent me the color code of the paint, and this is what color he said it was. Like I said, it's a super speedway car, and they caught Jack cheating the first time out with the car, and what he had done was put a 5-speed Doug Nash transmission in it. Well, they told him he couldn't do that anymore. Well, when he did it, he put on the dash a shifting pattern with a 5-speed on it. And he took the transmission out after they told him that, and he left the pattern on there, and he was protested 2 more times after that. And then they figured out he was just leaving the pattern up there on the dash. The car also, which you couldn't see, it's been taken out of it, Jack had taken a 1/2 inch out of each side on the fender and made the front end narrower. And when he did that, he ran a long time that way, and that's only an inch out of the whole front end. And finally, everybody else started doing it. Well, they started making the front ends narrower, and NASCAR caught them, so they all had to go back to the original way the car was built. And if you feel under the fenders, you can still feel where they cut the fenders and moved them out. They got a plate under there, that ½ inch, to make it legal for NASCAR. Another thing we found that he had done when he built the front end, and I don't know how he did it, but because we put this hood on it, the whole front end drops 2 inches. And if when we put this hood on it originally, we had already painted it, not thinking there was any problem there. We put it on, and it stuck up about 2 inches above the front of the car. So the whole front end sloped down. I don't guess they ever found that. We found it with the hood. And another thing that's neat about this car, if you look at each body panel, it's individual. It's just the way that Chevrolet built the car. You can see the door seams in it and all that. These are original Chevrolet Monte Carlo fenders. The doors are the same. The back end, the whole car is an original Monte Carlo. Jack did an outstanding job building this car. I mean, it's phenomenal the way it's built. They had the fenders bulged, and a guy named Frog, that's what they called him, did the body work on it. All under the fenders is bondoed. It's smooth. The airflow, I guess that's what they were looking at. But the back fenders are bulged out to put bigger tires on it. And if you look down at the bottom in front of the tires, it's got a flare in it too that the normal Monte Carlo doesn't have. Another thing that we found was the front bumper. I don't know what they did to it to make it narrower, but you can't see where it's narrower, but it sits inside the body of the car, and it only weighs about maybe 3 pounds. It's very light, but it is metal, and they put that on there. Just things that you don't notice until you start taking them apart, and then you see all this stuff. The cowl vents here underneath are closed. The air doesn't go into the motor. It just comes in and goes out. Inside the car, this was from 1972 again, and you look at the seat. It is just a basic seat with a bolster on the side to keep you from going out of the car that way. The head restraint was up here. It has right back here, it's hard to see, but this is the original. It's got a thermos bottle, and they would drink water out of it. The original thermos is here. And this was one of the first cars that they put dry sump oil systems in, and rear end coolers. That's what this is. This is a fan with a radiator in it, and that right there is a pump that pumps the oil through the rear end and keeps the oil in the rear end cool. The jacks are right here. This would raise the back end of the car. It's on both sides of the car. They had to reach in through the window to jack it. Later on, they put holes in the roof or in the back plexiglass. Jack went through the car, and you can see the aluminum he put in it. Behind the aluminum is the original door, and it bolts on. So if you got in a wreck, you could take this aluminum off, unbolt the door, and put another door in it. And they never did that. The car is in exceptional shape. Very nice car. Back here in the trunk, the spoiler, I looked for a long time, figured for a long time what the little holes in it are. And what I finally determined, and I think I'm right, is the spoiler would pick up air. It would go under the spoiler, even though they have it riveted down in the front, and that let the air out of the spoiler. That's my opinion. Mr. Hunt was a strawberry broker, and this was his sign that he put on the back, or his sticker, and this says, "We don't care how the hell you do it in California. I can't read the rest.
Because Florida does it better.
Because Florida does it better, and that's what that indicates right there. But all the aluminum, this is the original aluminum. It was bumped here. I didn't straighten it out. We put it in. We just put it back on. A lot of little things that really make the car neater in here. This is the trunk area, the fuel cell where it's supposed to be. You fill the, you put the fuel in the side here, but that was didn't work too well. So what we did was just make it where I could put it in the fuel cell here. This is the dry sump cam tank for the engine, and this was kind of an innovation when he first did it. And the fuel cell has gone bad, so that's my new fuel cell there, that 2-gallon gas can. And you can see where we had it painted white before, and then when we redid it, we painted it brown. Moving around to the engine compartment, when Jack, back to something else, when Jack drove it, he picked number 11. And I often wonder why he took number 11. Well, when it was in the Hall of Fame, I talked to Ned Jarrett, and Jack was telling me that he liked Ned Jarrett, and Ned Jarrett was number 11, so Jack took the number 11. The hood, Monte Carlo hoods are exceptionally large. I think this thing's like 6 foot. And this is the engine compartment here. This, remember I said it was white? Well, I had a blueberry farm at that time, so I put it under the hood of the car. This is the way we did the underside of the car, the hood. We cut all the bracing out of it like the other car, the other hood, and made it just like the other one. Same bracing back here, same nose and all that. The radiator was a super speedway radiator, huge aluminum. All this was done by Jack, the front end, all the aluminum work. And again, it's a Banjo Matthews frame. And then the engine is one that I built, and it's not got a lot of power. It's probably doing 350 horse compared to whatever they did back then. This is the shocks. Back then they had 4 gas shocks on them. Nowadays they just have 1 because the shocks have been improved. The firewall, they put rubber tires in here wherever something went through. They made a little rubber deal that would rivet on, and then it wouldn't let the air in. Another neat thing, if you look at the master cylinder, it's a single master cylinder. And once the brakes went, the master cylinder went, you were finished. You had no brakes. The front end, the control arms are all made, handmade, and all that. So over here, Emil, here's another sticker that Jack, this is the way the car looked the first time that we painted it. It was white, number 21, and this was Mr. Hunt's decal that he put on the air cleaner. And the car, very nice looking that way, but that was on it when I got it. So basically that's the car, and very nice car. This is probably one of the nicest NASCARs around, absolutely, that raced for what would that be, 6 years, and is still in this kind of shape. Okay, this car, I've raced it at Darlington 2 times and had a ball driving it. And I just wanted to add that in, that I still would race it if I could, but no place on the East Coast races anymore.